evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WRC's Fridays Season 1, and we are here for round 2 of the season, here at a rain-soaked Texas. My name is JP, I'm your commentator, a pleasure to be here, as always. And we've got 18 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 56-lap race. Like I mentioned, as you can see on your screens, qualifying has been hit by the heavens, and the rain clouds have opened and are dispersing water here around the circuit of the Americas. Definitely gonna be one to watch. Daryl immediately coming out on track to try and take to the best of the track. Realistically, if you think about it, you'd presume the quickest laps will come earliest in this session rather than a normal qualifying where it's later, as the more rain comes down, the slower the track is theoretically going to get. But whether that's the way that it will work here tonight, you never know. There is also the possibility that a drier line gets burnt into the track with the amount of cars that are running, and it is just like a normal qualifying session where all of the best times are set at the end. Best Noah in the chat, hello to you and good evening, my friend. Hope you're doing well and hope you're ready for the action that we are bringing you tonight. You can just see on board with Daryl how wet the track is at the minute. I must say, I do love a wet race here in the F1 game. It's my thing. So I definitely love racing in the wet, and I definitely love commentating the wet as well. So this is definitely going to be an enjoyable session. So we just wait for Daryl to come through the end of the middle and the final sector, and we will finally have some laps getting laid down in this qualifying session. Good evening to everyone in the chat, hope you're all well. Early predictions, anyone? Who's going to take pole in this one? If I had to put money on it, if I was a gambling man, which sometimes I can be, we won't delve into that venture. You're looking at names like Daryl, F1 Mikey Boy, Ferrari for Life, Romeo Blues, MCL. There's a lot of names in this grid that you could easily say they're my pick. So it's definitely not easy to have one, almost reminiscent of that one WWE Royal Rumble where the commentator's pick changed about 20 times. That might be what we have here tonight, but if I had to put my money on one man, I would have to say, for pole position at least, Ferrari for Life would be the man that I'd choose, just strictly based off of recent performance. He's taken pole in the preseason test and taken pole in round 1. So you would like to assume that he will be up there in this qualifying session. Daryl is just making his way through the second sector. I had a purple first sector, of course, that's inevitable. He is the first car to set a timed lap. You can see him still burning the overtake button down the main straight. No matter how wet this track gets, you will still see all the drivers using as much overtake as possible to try and get as much of the power down, but at the same time you do have to be careful applying the overtake, because wheel spin, these Formula 1 cars will spin enough in the wet, let alone putting a couple more 100 horsepower into those rear wheels with the overtake button. It's definitely not easy to control. Daryl just making his way through the final sector then. This will inevitably be the quickest time so far, as we haven't had one set yet, unless he runs it really wide out the final corner, which would have been a little bit of a curse, but he doesn't. Comes across the line with a 47.6. The line comes at you very, very quickly around this track. Robotic Shark slots into P2 with a 1 minute 48.4. And then it's F1 Mikey Boy who comes across the line and absolutely trumps Daryl's lap a second quicker. A 1 minute 46.6. Alex then slots into now P3 with a 46.6. As Ferrari for Life I am speechless, but my prediction has been proved right. A 1 minute 44.7. He is nearly 2 seconds quicker, although then Best Noah goes into P2 with a 45.7, but still around a second quicker than the nearest car behind him, Ferrari for life. Where he gets the pace from, I absolutely do not know. It is astonishing to watch. King Fenrir is on an outlap, so we need to go to the car behind him. That car is Matt Connor, who is just coming through the final couple of corners. We'll see where this lap time puts the Red Bull driver drifting around the final corner. Goes into P3 with a 1 minute 46.0, then immediately displaced by the Mercedes-Benz of Sidemen. Coming across the line now, I believe is just Sega, and it is just Sega. Goes into P5 with a 1 minute 46.2, and then the McLaren of Zasapi comes across the line, takes P2 away from Best Noah with a 1 minute 45.0. 3/10 is the gap between first and second place then. Fenrir is just making his way through the first sector, and unless we've got a little wisehead like Daryl, yeah, of course, multiple laps on the tyres, we know to expect this now from Daryl. King Fenrir will be the next man to set a flying lap. Ollie Southall in the chat saying, the aim tonight is to do better than JP did in yesterday's race. I think it would be quite hard to do any worse. For context, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't watch last night, first of all, what are you doing? It's WRC. You have to watch on a Thursday night. It's brilliant action. And I do personally race myself. It was round 1, Spa. Qualifying went well. The race was going brilliantly. I was running P2 at one point. Everything was looking all hunky-dory. And then my controller decided that it wanted to disconnect. And straight into the wall I went, and that was my race over. So definitely gonna be difficult to not do what I did. And I was just about to say, as King Fenrir comes into the pits, the rain has stopped, so definitely should be seeing slicks towards the end of this session. So maybe that shakes the grid up a little bit more. You can already see people going into soft compound tyres in the pits. Ferrari for life looks like he's on a lap, but I would imagine will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. There's no point setting a lap on the intermediate tyres because they will be trumped by the slicks come the end of this session. We're only 8 minutes into this session, still 10 minutes left to go. There's definitely going to be time to put those soft compound tyres on and get running once more. Daryl does go fastest with a 1 minute 44.5, so maybe Ferrari for life will just want to set the lap to say, hey, I was quickest in the wet, you can't take that away from me, and he is going to finish his lap. So maybe a little bit of the battle of the egos going on here. Ferrari for life crosses the line, does take that away from Daryl by 1.3 seconds, and inserts himself back at the top of the timesheets. Now, you would imagine everyone else is surely coming into the pit lane to bolt on slick tyres, and you would imagine those slicks will be the red-walled soft compound tyres, although Sidemen briefly was thinking about the hards, which is definitely an interesting choice to say the least. You would imagine this track will dry up relatively quickly. Romeo Blues goes into P7 with a 1 minute 45.6, and I believe Liggs is on a lap but has already used all of his overtake button. Isn't going to dive into the pits, interestingly enough, so Liggs will finish this lap. The rear tyre is locking up as he comes through the final corner. Liggs goes into P2 with a 1 minute 43.5, gets within 3/10 of Ferrari for life. And now, you would imagine, everyone will be diving back into the pit lane. Andy Price is already out on the slicks. Alex is already out on the slicks. Sidemen is out on the slicks as well. It'll be Andy Price that sets the first competitive lap time on the soft compound tyres. So we are going to stick on board with this lap because this will tell us, is it time for slicks already? We've still got people going faster on the inters. Andy Price taking the gamble very, very early. Is the price right? That is the question. Very smooth, JP. DRS is enabled, so there you go. The price must be right, ladies and gentlemen. And Andy Price is going to be the first man to take a shot at the jackpot. He's coming through the first sector now. This slalom uphill of S's just get tighter and tighter as you go up. And now they open up as you really go uphill. And now you dive all the way back downhill towards quite a difficult braking zone. Always a bit difficult to judge your braking point in here. Andy meets the apex beautifully, gives it a little kiss, and then gets on his way. Traction looks good on the Alpine so far during this lap. DRS open, so that's only going to benefit him down this straight as well. Currently hasn't set a lap time, Andy, as he now makes his way into the final sector. 1 minute 8.1 is the sector 2 split for the Alpine driver. It's a little bit wobbly on board with him, so definitely not completely dry, but I would have said it is definitely looking more than okay for the soft compound tyres. As through the final couple of corners he comes now, then really getting over the curbs. Lucky to not get an invalidation there, just about kept it on the track. And Andy Price comes across the line and does go fastest with a 1 minute 42.4. MCL did complete a lap on the Inters and went P4 with a 1 minute 44.1. You would imagine now all the guys on the soft compound tyres are going to be the guys that will be going to the top of the timesheets. We just need to try and find out who is going to be next to cross the line on a competitive lap. Alex is coming into the pits. King Fenrir is on an out lap, so it's going to be... Is that a Mercedes, I believe it is? It's going to be... It's not Ollie Southall, who's had a little bit of a venture off the track. It's going to be Sideman, who is 3.3 seconds up on his best lap on the Inters, so definitely time for slicks at the moment. And will this shake the competitive rumblings up? Andy comes through to the penultimate corner. Always a very difficult off-camber corner is the penultimate corner here at the Circuit of the Americas. A little bit of a wiggle from the back end out of the final corner, but goes fastest with a 1 minute 39.4. And this track is going to be getting quicker with every second that drivers are active. Robotic Shark goes into second with a 1 minute 41.2. King Fenrir's had a bit of a detour. I believe that's an Alpine coming through. That's Andy Price. And now we look to the Williams. That's MCL. And next is going to be Zasapi then for McLaren. Comes through the penultimate corner. Looks a lot neater than Sidemen's was, who is currently on provisional pole position. Now through the final corner. And McLaren back to the top, 1 minute 37.9 for Zasapi, and he is fastest. Best Noah goes second with a 38.2. Now I believe it's a Red Bull driver crossing the line, if I'm not mistaken. No, it can't be a Red Bull driver because Matt Connor is the only one, and he's currently in the pit lane. So there is a Mercedes coming across the line. That is going to be Ollie Southall, who's just going onto his lap, but he's invalidated out of the final corner. And this lap will not count. So we now look at McLaren of Darrell, who is coming through the final sector, 4.3 seconds up on his lap through the middle sector. And that time gain is only going to become more as he now comes through the final couple of corners. A big slide for Darrell. Still goes fastest with a 1 minute 36.8, but really had an armful of opposite lock through that final corner. That definitely would have been a code brown in the McLaren cockpit. Now, who will be the next driver to cross the line? I believe it's going to be, there's an Aston Martin. That's Wise Wizard. Alex is on an out lap. Ollie Southall's invalidated. So it's going to be, is it the other Aston Martin? No, Alex is on an out lap. Mercedes potentially of Ollie, who no, has invalidated. We've already seen that. Then it's the McLaren. So it doesn't look like anyone's on a fast lap as we speak. And then as I say that, we see Zasapi, who looks potentially on a fast lap, although he's not using battery, so maybe doesn't look like he is. Robotic Shark is on a lap, but's invalidated. Liggs is also invalidated, and this is quite the issue with Kota, as Wise Wizard goes fastest with a 1 minute 36.4. The issue with the Circuit of the Americas is there is practically no gravel traps or grass traps. It is all runoff area, and with it being such a high speed natured circuit, it is very, very, very easy to go off the track, get yourself an invalidation in qualifying, in the Grand Prix. You're looking at getting yourself those warnings. 3 of those turns into a penalty. So I would not be surprised if this race is very penalty orientated. And I wouldn't be surprised if some drivers aren't racing to their full pace just to keep it within the white lines, because the penalties will add up towards the end of the race. 1 minute and 50 seconds left of qualifying, and Darrell embarks on what we can only believe will be his final lap. So a man that has been uberly quick in WRC, won last week in Australia after leading all of, I think, the final 2 laps, maybe final 3 laps. So definitely one to watch. I know it's early to say it, but current championship leader after winning round 1, looking to solidify that position and let people know he is coming for the title. No Billy Mewis this week either. I'm not 100% sure if he is still racing here or he just wasn't able to make today, or what the situation is with that. But Billy Mewis, definitely one that would be going for the title. Same with Ferrari for Life, who's currently down in P8, hasn't done a lap on the slick tyres. Could that affect the Ferrari driver? Well, Darrell is just coming through the final sector, and this lap looks blisteringly quick. Wise Wizard won't get another lap. He's in the pits. He's done the best he can. So Darrell, now coming through the final couple of corners, needs a 4/10 improvement to try and snatch provisional pole away. But you've got to remember, nearly all of the grid has laps left to do. So Darrell comes around the final corner. It's a 1 minute 34.5 and it's provisional pole position. But who's next to take the line? It's Liggs for Haas, who goes to provisional pole with a 1 minute 33.8. His teammate King Fenrir is coming through as well. We've got drivers crossing the line absolutely everywhere, as we've now got a Ferrari crossing the line. I believe that's Ferrari for Life, who is just going on to his lap now. So we will be watching this lap, because this could be the lap for pole position. He makes his way through turn 1 tight and neat. That is qualifying over, ladies and gentlemen. Zasapi starts a best of 4th. Robotic Shark a best of 7th. Just Sega a best of 14th. Alex a best of 15th. Ollie Southall not able to set a lap in this qualifying session. So this is crunch time. 2.6 seconds up is Ferrari for Life through the first sector, although his best lap time currently was set on the intermediates. Is there anyone else that can try and displace Liggs at the top? First to try will be his teammate King Fenrir, who comes around the final corner and snatches it away with a 1 minute 33.4. The 2 Haas drivers giving it everything. MCL has invalidated on his best lap. Now we look to Andy Price, who was the first man to bolt the soft tyres on. Is there a chance that he can take provisional pole position? He comes to the final corner now. Doesn't have much battery left to the line. Comes across the line. Goes into P2 with a 1 minute 33.7. Now, who are we looking for? Sidemen's in that pack. Ferrari for Life. Coming to the final couple of corners. Mikey Boy goes to provisional pole with a 1 minute 32.4. Best Noah goes into P2. Ferrari for Life is only second. We've still got more drivers to cross the line as Sidemen now goes into second. I don't believe anyone else is on a lap, and they're not. So that is qualifying over, ladies and gentlemen. And it is F1 Mikey Boy on pole position. Sidemen take second with Ferrari for Life in third. It's Best Noah in fourth and King Fenrir in 5th place. Andy Price is 6th with Liggs in 7th. Daryl only 8th. He definitely won't be happy with that result. Wise Wizard finishes 9th with Zasapi in 10th. But what a qualifying session that was, ladies and gentlemen. And after it all, it is F1 Mikey Boy back on pole position. Going down throughout the top 10, we've then got Robotic Shark in 11th. MCL is 12th with Romeo Blues in 13th. Matt Connor finishes 14th with Just Sega in 15th. Alex is in 16th. Ollie Southall rounds up the grid in 17th. Well, do not go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. What a qualifying session that was. And the Grand Prix is up next. Formation lap time, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a race to watch. F1 Mikey Boy, our pole sitter, saying rain at the end, possibly from around lap 35 onwards. Daryl saying that he ran wide and lost a second. Easy pole ruined, fuming, ain't the word. P8 to P1 incoming. So definitely going to be a race to watch. This is tyre allocation actually quite split. The top 7 all on mediums. Then we've got 8th, 9th and 10th on the hard compound tyres, and then it's very split between mediums and hards, apart from Just Sega on the soft compound tyres, which is an interesting choice. So lap 35, we can possibly expect some rain. Definitely going to be keeping our eye out. I was going to say, it looks really quite sunny. It looks like it's brightened up a lot from qualifying. But Mikey Boy letting us know there is going to be some rain towards the end. I mean, if it's from lap 35 onwards, that gives us about 20 laps of rain, considering I believe this is a 56 lap Grand Prix, if I'm not incorrect. So definitely gonna be a lot to watch in this race. F1 Mikey Boy back at the top after a long period of a few struggles. Definitely still had the pace, and most certainly through no fault of his own hasn't been at the top, but finally back where I'd say quite a lot of people would argue where he belongs. Sidemen in P2. Definitely, I would have to argue, an unfamiliar position, but definitely not one that he should maybe not be accustomed to. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we see Sidemen up towards the top more often. Ferrari for life third. He will definitely be trying to challenge for the win today. Best Noah in 4th. He's used to being towards the front of the grid as well. King Fenrir will be looking to try and prove himself, as will Andy Price. We obviously know the comeback story for Daryl. He will be trying to get up as quickly as he can, potentially maybe even staying until the rain hits on those hard compound tyres. Maybe that's what the hard runners are thinking. They've seen the potential rain and thought, get the hards on, wait until the inters come, and then see what we can do. You can see Mikey angling the car towards the left-hand side. You can see Sidemen angling the car towards the right-hand side. These two are going for it into turn 1, and it's a difficult turn 1 to try and defend that. This is going to be a corker of a race, ladies and gentlemen. If you aren't followed already, what are you doing? Hit that follow button down below, because I can assure you after this race, you will be addicted and you will want to watch every one that comes your way every Friday at 8 p.m. But it's 5 red lights here in Texas ahead of the drivers. And it's lights out. And away we go. Sidemen gets away very well from P2. And is already alongside F1 Mikey Boy as we duel down into turn 1. Down the inside goes Sidemen. Mikey runs wide. And Sidemen is into the lead of the Texan Grand Prix. Mikey jostling away with Best Noah. As we go into the S's, Mikey manages to hold that position. And we've got a bit of a demotion. And it's Ferrari for life who's gone round in the S's. The man who would have easily, even after qualifying, been one of the best shouts for a race win here today. Ferrari for life is round. Luckily, no damage for him. But down to 17th. And a big shock at the start of this one. But Sidemen immediately rocketed into the lead with that start. F1 Mikey Boy dueling away, but is now in 2nd. We've got Best Noah in 3rd place. King Fenrir up to 4th. Andy Price up to 5th. We've got Daryl up 1 position to 7th. Alex has had a moment somewhere in that middle sector as well, as we've got all these cars jostling for position through the middle part of the lap. 3 wide as we go into the middle sector. The 2 Williams involved with the Aston Martin of Wise Wizard getting very scrappy as cars run off the track. Now looking to go around the outside. There's contact there with the V-carb of Sega and the rear wing of Wise Wizard, but no damage done. They continue on for the time being. Well, a hectic lap 1, ladies and gentlemen, and on top of it all, Sidemen for Mercedes-Benz leads, and I believe that is the first time I've said that in a WRC Grand Prix. F1 Mikey Boy runs in 2nd after that turn 1, let's say shenanigans, ran a little bit wide, managed to keep P2, but will now be hounding down the back of the Mercedes to try and get back into the lead. Ferrari for life already back up to 15th. Good pace from the Ferrari man on the medium tyres, straight past his teammate, who I believe also had some trouble in the S's. Best Noah runs 3rd and will just be looking to try and hang on to the back of the 2 leaders and keep pulling away from King Fenrir, who's really going to be under pressure from Andy Price, who is right behind him, as we make our way to the DRS zone and the first DRS boost of this Texan Grand Prix. F1 Mikey Boy looks more than close enough. It's a very long straight here, burning the overtake as well. Is the V-carb driver? Is there going to be potentially a gap down the inside for the V-carb to throw it? There isn't. How about Andy Price, though? He is looking for it to the inside of the Haas. King Fenrir just isn't able to fight it, and through goes Andy Price up into 4th place. Alpine running brilliantly in this one so far. Even more contact with Wise Wizard involved, as we've got Ollie Southall already up to 11th. Wise Wizard jostling away with him. And there down the inside goes Wise Wizard, just about gets it stopped. Even more contact. Ferrari for life now looking on the switchback, just has to run a little bit wide. Now looks to cut to the inside. Right behind this, we've also got Alex. Is there opportunity for Ferrari for life to try and gain some position? He's gonna look for it into the final corner. As for the lead, we've got Mikey and Sidemen giving it everything. Mikey just has to sit behind for the time being. Ferrari for life did manage to get ahead of Wise Wizard, but Wise Wizard giving it everything to try and get back. We've got cars jostling everywhere as we race down into turn 1. Ferrari for life will keep that position. Wise Wizard picks up a penalty. 3 wide into turn 2. That's never going to work, and Ferrari for life does keep that position. Alex now 13th, Wise Wizard 14th, and Sega will be looking at the back of that Aston Martin, giving it everything to try and keep to the rear wing. F1 Mikey Boy surely now senses that this is his chance to get past Sidemen. They've got practically the same battery, and F1 Mikey Boy has the DRS as well. He's gaining on the Mercedes, gaining on the Mercedes. Sidemen goes a little defensive. Here comes Mikey to the inside and through on lap 3. F1 Mikey Boy back to where he started, takes the lead of the Texan Grand Prix. Sidemen now runs second. Best Noah still running with them in third place. It's Andy Price still in fourth. King Fenris struggling, it seems, on the medium tyres. Liggs is now catching him. And so we've had another moment for Romeo Blues. No damage on the front wing of that Ferrari, but definitely struggling is the Ferrari man. Ferrari for life, speaking of, is now chasing down Robotic Shark for 11th place. But you've got to think, while he's trying to make that comeback story, F1 Mikey Boy surely senses a great chance to try and run away with this one, and that is exactly what he's doing. Daryl, you can see on the hard compound tyres, doesn't have the pace quite yet, but the strategy definitely could come to him. You'd imagine he's saving those tyres as best he can. As there, you can see Robotic Shark throwing it down the inside at turn 1, dueling away with Ferrari for life, who picks up damage, and that could be huge for the consequences of this race. Alex looks to try and get it down at the S's, just isn't able to follow through, and Alex, that turning angle almost looked like he had damage as well, but there is a full front wing on that Aston Martin. Ferrari for life definitely will struggle with that damage. That isn't small damage at all, as Robotic Shark picks up a 3-second penalty. Ferrari for life, is he going to go for it? Down here, he's going to send the dive bomb. He might as well. Now forces Robotic Shark off, which I guess is a little bit of payback. And Robotic Shark will not have the DRS, so you'd imagine Ferrari for life will have that position covered. F1 Mikey Boy and Sidemen still doing battle. You can see them wheel to wheel. Down the inside goes Sidemen. Great overtaking opportunity that is, as Robotic Shark gets a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. That's a big, big penalty that is. And Mikey back round the outside, I believe the quad apex right-hander, and manages to get back through into the lead. Ferrari for life still continuing on with that damage. Where is Robotic Shark? Currently running 16th. Definitely having issues with that Williams, it would seem, as Sidemen makes his way up the inside of Mikey, down into turn 1. Now we plunge downhill into the S's, and Mikey once again reclaims the position. Sidemen using pretty much all of his battery though, and that is going to harm him, because Best Noah is right in behind, waiting to pounce. Ferrari for life gets up to 10th, ahead of Ollie, and now has about a 2.2 second gap until he reaches the McLaren duo, who I'm sure will do their best to keep him behind. Sidemen now has the opportunity to try and chase Mikey again, as he's going to get the DRS. He's got a fair amount of battery, but Mikey has definitely got more. But will that matter? Because the gap isn't very large, but Sidemen has ran out of battery. Mikey with a plethora in the ERS energy store. Best Noah just knows that sitting and waiting behind could do him well, as Liggs now manages to get past his teammate King Fenrir and up into the top 5. King Fenrir does seem to be struggling at this phase of the race, but definitely could come back to him. MCL is the highest running hard runner at the minute. He's got Daryl right behind him, and then Zasapi looks like he may have had a little bit of a mistake in either the end of the first sector or the middle sector, because Ferrari for life is now right with him, and he's fallen off the back of his teammate. Romeo Blues still down in 17th place, but is gaining on Robotic Shark, who seems to be struggling with that Williams. Once again, Sidemen and Mikey Boy completely going at it. Best Noah trying to make a move as we get into the S's, but nothing doing for the Alpine driver. Mercedes working well in the Texas heat, it would seem, but how will it fare when the rain starts coming down? F1 Mikey Boy took pole in the wet, or well, he was on provisional pole in the wet, let's say. Then it got dry, took pole position anyway, Mikey boy looking good in all the conditions so far, it must be said. Sidemen also looking very good in all conditions. Has a lot more ERS than last time. The gap has really opened up on the last lap or so, so Mikey boy won't have to worry about any sort of defensive moves being made or anything like that. Best Noah still happy to run in third at the minute. MCL manages to get past King Fenrir and up into 6th place. Ferrari for Life just slowly creeping in on the back of Zasapi as we see Wise Wizard get past just Sega. And now Ollie doing battle with Alex as we make our way into the final sector. Around the outside there is never going to work. Daryl now gets King Fenrir and up into 7th place. Alex does make that move on Ollie and moves up into 11th and just battles everywhere you look, ladies and gentlemen. Can't take your eyes off it. Daryl now chasing down MCL, who interestingly, oh, that's, you'd imagine that would have been a penalty. He's going to lose a handful of positions, MCL. I was going to say, only been on those tyres for 5 laps, and they're hard tyres. Was thinking about coming into the pits, but MCL now basically pulling over for everyone. Was running in 6th place, now runs in 10th, and I wonder what was going on there. There is damage to the front of that Williams, so whether he thought to pit and then decided he'd stay out, that is definitely an odd situation, it has to be said. Now running in 10th, and that damage is really affecting him. Ferrari for Life is gaining on King Fenrir, and out in front, DRS has been broken between F1 Mikey Boy and Sidemen. And F1 Mikey Boy now just looks to try and ease away from the rest of the pack. Best Noah, you would imagine, will be best pleased with that, as he will now have the DRS on the Mercedes and should have a good opportunity of getting past. Ferrari for Life manages to get past King Fenrir and up into 8th place. Now has to try and get Zasapi as Ollie makes the move once again on Alex and gets through back up into 11th place. Is there maybe going to be a little bit of a dive bomb from Alex to try and get back through? Just not close enough. And has to settle in 12th for the time being. But you'd imagine this battle is far from over yet between the Aston and the Mercedes. Best Noah does manage to get Simon then into turn 1, and there's big contact between the Alpine and the Mercedes, and that's going to bring Andy Price right back into this, into the DRS of Sidemen as well. I don't know if there's any damage. There is damage to Sidemen's car, so that's going to hinder him. Andy Price could be moving into a podium position here. You can see he's just got so much more grip than the Mercedes ahead of him, and it's just the lack of downforce from the lack of front wing, and Andy Price will have a brilliant shot at getting past the Mercedes with the DRS. That's really helped Mikey as well, as there you go, down the inside goes Andy. The better exit goes to Sidemen, but now with the DRS, surely is Andy's chance to get past. Moves through to the inside, and Sidemen, who was running second, now runs 4th. And I'm sure there was more to that contact than we were able to pick up. The man this does help, Mikey Boy, now 3.4 seconds in the lead. Then 2.5 seconds to Andy Price, who will battle away with Sidemen, I'm sure. Although Sidemen will be struggling with that front wing. MCL gets back through on King Fenrir and up into 9th place. Ferrari for Life has been gaining on Zasapi, but just doesn't look like he's got the pace edge that he needs, especially with that front wing damage, to try and get past the McLaren at this stage of the race. Currently lap 9 of 56, and Sidemen comes in to fix that front wing, and well, we've still got what, 47 laps to go. That could fare to be a good option rather than running around with damage for that long. Come in early, get it fixed, get the hard tyres on, go to the rain if you can, and run a clean race, not getting stuck in traffic. Alex gets past King Fenrir into turn 1 and moves up into 9th place. Ferrari for Life still sat behind Zasapi, but well within the DRS, although Zasapi with much, much more battery. Daryl struggling a little bit on the fuel, could definitely do with the safety car, could the McLaren man, although safety cars not really common around here, as the walls are, I must say, quite far away from the track limits. Out in front, F1 Mikey boy just doing what he does best, leading a Grand Prix, cruising away. And he's just got to, it is much easier said than done before I say this, but all he's got to do is do exactly what he's doing for another, what is it, 47 laps, and he will win the Texan Grand Prix. Ferrari for life, much, much closer to Zasapi than he has been, as Wise Wizard and Ollie still do battle. These two are stuck together like magnets, it must be said. The Aston and the Mercedes-Benz cannot leave each other alone here tonight. Matt Connor now getting involved in that battle as well, as Romeo Blues picks up a 3-second time penalty. Robotic Shark's been into the pits as well to get a new set of boots, the soft compound tyres. Ollie picks up a 3-second penalty for those multiple warnings. DRS for the Mercedes though to try and gain up to the back of the Aston Martin once more, as into the pits and retiring is King Fenrir. We've seen him struggle with the pace of that Haas, and maybe just deciding it's time to call it quits, and that is our first retiree of this session. Lap 10 of 56 then, ladies and gentlemen. It's F1 Mikey boy that leads the Texan Grand Prix. It's Best Noah in second place with Andy Price in third. Liggs runs fourth with Daryl in fifth place. Zasapi runs sixth, and Ferrari for life in seventh is chasing him down. Has a little bit more battery than he did last time. Has the DRS, which doesn't look close enough to try and make a move, although he is gaining, and he is going to throw it to the inside. Is the Ferrari man. Zasapi has to concede the position, and Ferrari for life finally, he must think, moves up into sixth place. Zasapi, you would imagine, will charge after the Ferrari though, and will try and regain that position. A little bit of a wiggle from the rear end of the Ferrari, struggling on the tyres perhaps a little bit. 9 laps on those mediums, and they all continue on as per. Daryl now is the next car for Ferrari for life to chase. 2.8 seconds for the Ferrari man to try and gain, albeit with that front wing damage, and Daryl is definitely no slow man, especially when he's on his day. I must say, if we're talking driver of the day contenders so far, you've got to go to Mikey. Has done everything he's needed to do. Best Noah, again, has driven absolutely perfectly. There was that contact at turn 1 with Sidemen, but we didn't see it all, so we can't put any blame to anyone. I'd have to say my personal shouts would be Andy Price and Liggs. Andy Price running a brilliant race so far, currently in third place. And I mean this with no disrespect to Andy. I don't remember him ever running in a podium place, so this is a brilliant job from Andy in the Alpine, currently in Alpine 2-3. Brilliant stuff. Liggs as well, running in fourth place. Not a man we usually see towards the top of the timesheets, and again, I mean no disrespect to Liggs when I say that. It's just testament to what a race he's having today. Zasapi does manage to get through on Ferrari for life, and that is only going to be helping Daryl. You can see the gap opening up more and more with every lap that passes that these two battle, and Daryl will be looking at that gap opening up, and most certainly, you would imagine, smiling. Closest battle on track goes to Alex and MCL at the minute, as Ollie has been into the pits, so they're not battling anymore. So Alex now trying to make his way through on the Williams driver of MCL, and they are very, very close to each other as they approach the start of lap 12. Ferrari for life makes his way into the pits. Will they be changing that front wing? Yes, they will. And that is a big call from Ferrari for life. But you could see the pace wasn't at its usual standard for the Ferrari man, and obviously understandable without having with having part of your front wing missing. it's definitely going to be hard to keep the normal pace that you usually have. Ferrari for Life exits the pits in 14th place on the hard compound tyres. And now we'll just look to try and run a cleaner race and hopefully catch up to the rest of the pack once they all come into the pits. Wise Wizard, MCL and Alex all having a mighty scrap here. This is the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th. As you can see, MCL really is gaining on that Aston Martin, and before the braking zone is even a thought, he makes his way through and back up into 7th place. This is the closest battle on track at the minute. MCL, Alex and Wise Wizard, the two Astons, running very competitively, it must be said. Aston Martin definitely choosing two drivers that are very, very close together in skill. And there, a big dive bomb from Wise Wizard to try and get through at turn 1. Alex, you would imagine, will surely get a better exit with the amount of pressure that Wise Wizard would have had to put on the brakes. And Alex does get that position back, but these two, you would imagine, will be getting some radio calls from the pit wall, although there, it almost looked like Alex let his teammate through, which is definitely interesting. So some potential communications going on in the Aston Martin garage as they try and work together to best MCL, who is currently the lone Williams at the minute as Robotic Shark, running about 31 seconds behind Ollie in 16th place. Sidemen and Just Sega do battle. Just Sega 12 laps on those soft compound tyres, testament to his pace and his ability to keep the tyres in check, but definitely won't be in the best of nick. And Best Noah has left the session, has disconnected. I don't know if I have Best Noah added. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I will just see if I've got Best Noah added. I don't believe I do. So if there is anyone watching that is in the lobby and can get Best Noah back in the session, that would be great, because Best Noah having a brilliant race so far, currently running in 2nd place. The longer he's out of this, the more positions you would imagine he's going to lose. You have disconnected, Noah. It said you left the session and your car is now a ghost. I unfortunately don't have you added. I do need to make sure that when I get into these lobbies, I start adding everyone so I can invite people back. I would imagine that there is someone watching the stream that can invite you back in, or at least we can hope so. But obviously we'll keep track of your progress and hopefully you don't lose too much time or any positions. Although, to be fair, if you do drop down to 3rd, it is only a teammate that is going to overtake you. F1 Mikey Boy, the leader. Look how composed. Inviting his closest rival back to the lobby. Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff. So Best Noah gets back into the session then. Andy Price, he's gained about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, which maybe will spur him on a little bit as he can now properly see his teammate in the distance, but definitely no damage done in terms of position for Best Noah. Andy Price still gaining a little bit as Best Noah just tries to load into the lobby and take control of the car once more. So maybe could we see a little bit of Alpine inter-team battling as Best Noah does now get back in the lobby. The gap now under 1 second. So could we see some intra-team battling? Best Noah deploying all of the overtake he can to try and run away from his teammate. And Andy Price will be praying that he can try and get back into that DRS. But it just looks like Best Noah has the pace to keep him at bay, at least for the time being, it has to be said. Liggs currently runs in 4th. Daryl has just started to put the burners on in the last couple of laps and has really gained up to the back of the Haas driver, currently running 5th. is Daryl. And definitely we'll have a great shot at getting past Liggs as we make our way to the next DRS zone. Liggs with plenty of battery though, and I must say a great exit. Secures that he will keep that 4th place, but you would imagine now Daryl would just try and reel him in over the course of this next lap. And then that will be the moment that he strikes. Lap 16 then of 56, 40 laps to go of this Texan Grand Prix. And it is F1 Mikey Boy that leads out in front from Best Noah, from Andy Price. Liggs runs 4th with Daryl in 5th place. It sends Asapi in 6th. Wise Wizard runs 7th with MCL in 8th. Matt Connor 9th and Alex 10th. Sidemen is 11th, having pitted a few laps ago. Ferrari for Life currently in 13th after his pit stop as well. Now chasing down his Ferrari teammate, who I'm sure won't make life difficult for him, considering where they both are. Alex picks up a 3-second time penalty for those multiple track limit warnings. Ferrari for Life, you would imagine, will have a brilliant shot of getting past up the next DRS zone. Speaking of the next DRS zone, here comes Daryl on the Haas of Liggs. Pulls to the inside. Yes, before the braking zone is even a consideration, Daryl moves up into 4th place. And now has just over a second to try and gain to get into the DRS of Andy Price, who is, I must be saying, quite a lot actually, who has been running a brilliant race. I must say, Daryl looks like a man on a mission from God at the minute. Gaining time absolutely everywhere possible, hounding down the lap times, easily looking like the quickest man on track at the moment, if not for F1 Mikey Boy. Ollie picks up a 3-second penalty, but Daryl, that McLaren, looks like it's on rails. I did think he was saving his tyres earlier on, and it would definitely seem that way. It looks like we're about halfway to the rain, if Mikey's prediction of around lap 35 is correct. So definitely going to be interesting to see how the hard tyres hold up, as Daryl now gets his first opportunity to try and overtake Andy and has much more battery than the Alpine. You can see the closing speed of the McLaren as he moves into the back of the Alpine and straight away gets through into the podium places. Andy will have a little fight back as there was a big lock up there for Daryl that definitely won't help his tyre wear, but does secure that position, moves through into the podium places, and now has about a 3.9 second gap to try and gain to get to the back of Noah. The question is, will he be able to do that? And if so, how quickly? Because those mediums, you would imagine, those guys will probably be coming into the pits. You'd want to say around lap 23, 24, I'd imagine, as Andy Price comes into the pits right now. So will Best Noah and F1 Mikey Boy react to that, as the undercut can be very powerful. So Andy emerges in 10th place then, well ahead of Ferrari for Life, who runs 11th. Daryl has gained already about half a second on Best Noah through the first sector of this lap. Just looking like a man possessed at the minute. Those medium tyres definitely looking like they're a little bit worse for wear. And I'd imagine, if not this lap, next lap, we will see some reactions to that Andy Price pit stop, as he was not far off the lead at all. Sidemen manages to get through on Matt Connor and up into 8th place. And Daryl, again, another half a second gained through the middle sector. He's gaining, at this rate, 1.5 seconds a lap on Best Noah, and that pace is absolutely astonishing. So do not take your eyes off of this one, ladies and gentlemen, because at this pace, hell, even next lap, we could see Best Noah being overtaken. Although now, he's coming into the pits, as is our race leader, F1 Mikey Boy. It's the soft compound tyres for Mikey, which is definitely an interesting choice. Noah goes on to another set of medium compound tyres, and this has really shaken the race up now, as the two McLarens now continue on and make it a McLaren 1-2, both of them starting on the hard compound tyres, so definitely understandable that they're still out. But F1 Mikey Boy onto the soft tyres. Now, will those tyres be able to go sort of 16, 17, 18 laps? Because even if the rain hits, let's say lap 35, it's going to take a few laps for it to become inters. So this is definitely an interesting choice from Mikey, although the clouds are looking quite grey. So could the rain come quicker than we were expecting? And is that why Mikey has gone onto the softs? Because from the way that I'm looking at it, I wouldn't be surprised if rain starts falling, really, at any time. Now, you'd imagine Mikey will reel these McLarens in very, very quickly, such is the pace on the soft compound tyres. But he's got to keep some life in those tyres for when the rain hits. So it's going to be a difficult game to play here for Mikey to decide, do you push flat out, try and get ahead of the McLarens, or do you try and save those tyres so they're in as best condition as possible when the rain hits? It's definitely not an easy one, but if anyone is able to make a gamble and make it work, it's going to be F1 Mikey Boy, I can assure you that. You can see the pace of the V-Carb, and the V-Carb man is now already just about creeping into the DRS. Is he going to get it down the main straight? He isn't, but well within it now, and fastest lap goes to F1 Mikey Boy with a 1:35.9. And surely it's only a matter of time until Mikey gets through. Much better exit out of turn 1. Unorthodox overtaking place, it has to be said. But through goes Mikey, already up into second place, and now has about 5.8 seconds to try and gain to get to the back of Daryl, but Zasapi just could not fight that at all. Such is the difference in the tyres. And he's not even going to get DRS to try and fight it back. Mikey looking like a man possessed at the minute in that V-carb. And surely it is going to take some sort of miracle if he is to be beaten here today. .1 seconds, now 5.0, 4.9. The gap between himself and Daryl in the lead, the grip on that V-carb, on those soft compound tyres, it looks uncomparable to anyone else on this track currently. And Daryl, I'm sure, will just be waiting to see a V-carb in his rearview mirror and then right ahead of him, because I really cannot see a world in which Daryl's going to be able to fight this when Mikey Boy rocks up to the back of him. Lap 22 of 56 here of this Texan Grand Prix. And Daryl leads after starting on the hard compound tyres. And this might help Daryl if he can stay behind Robotic Shark until the DRS detection line, which he's going to. He's going to get DRS off the back marker. And F1 Mikey Boy will not be getting DRS here. So this is definitely going to be helping Daryl along in his pursuit of staying in the lead. Mikey Boy will still gain a hell of a lot in the corners, but down the straights you can see the gap just opens up a little bit more as Daryl is really being helped along by the Williams of Robotic Shark here, who's on soft compound tyres. So realistically, won't just be a pushover because Robotic Shark is trying to run his home race. This is very, very interesting, it must be said. Ferrari for life moves up into 10th place past Liggs. He is a man on a mission as well after, well, it has to be said, a dreadful start. I think he was tapped round during the S's or made an error in the S's and went round all the way down to last, then picked up damage after contact with, I believe, one of the Aston Martins. His race definitely not being ran the way he would wanted it to go, as Best Noah now gets past Zasapi into turn 1 and up into 3rd place. F1 Mikey Boy now 1.6 seconds behind Daryl. He is really rocking up to the back of that McLaren, and it is only a matter of time before we see these two scrap again. But once more, Daryl's going to be getting the DRS, and it doesn't look like Mikey is. He's not. So Daryl once more will pull away down this main straight thanks to the back marker who has the DRS. And this is really, really helping Daryl stay in the lead of this one, and this could be crucial come the end of the race. Can see how much the gap is closing down, now under half a second, and the rain has started falling, ladies and gentlemen, about 10 laps earlier than we thought it would happen, and this is really big for Daryl. You can see he's still got the DRS from the back marker. He's staying in the lead. He will struggle on the hards as now down the inside goes F1 Mikey Boy. That lapped car definitely is getting in the way now and should probably get out of the way as these two battle. Somehow Daryl manages to stay ahead. This will help Daryl as he'll be able to just make the one stop, whereas Mikey has already made a stop and will have to make another stop to the Inters. But this is going to gain Daryl masses of time. He's not going to get the DRS off the back marker this time, it seems. So F1 Mikey Boy surely has a great chance of getting through on this occasion. Daryl doesn't get the DRS. F1 Mikey Boy will, and he's got to make this count now while he has the DRS, because once DRS is disabled, it's going to be very hard to get past that McLaren. There's just no room to get through though. He's just not got the pace that he needs. And now with the rain coming down, it's getting even slippier. That's very close to contact between the V-Carb and the McLaren. Now looking for the switchback, contact between them. Daryl has a bit of a moment, now runs deep. And this is really getting feisty as the rain pours. Romeo Blues and MCL switch onto the Inters very, very early here. And this track does look very, very greasy. As we come round the final corner, neither of them are coming into the pits yet. Daryl's still getting the DRS off of the back marker. And it has to be said, you would imagine Robotic Shark really should be getting out the way now. He's had blue flags for a long time. But Daryl is really benefiting from this here. And Best Noah is now arriving on the scene as well. This is now a 3-car fight between all these. And this is a battle you cannot take your eyes off, ladies and gentlemen. Best Noah, quite honestly, looks best placed here. Currently sat in third, but just looks to have the most grip out of any of these guys. F1 Mikey Boy is forced to go defensive. Best Noah now going to look for the switchback. Daryl's going to get the DRS off the back marker again. This is astonishing stuff here in this Texan Grand Prix. Daryl's able to save battery down the straight. Such is the advantage that he's got with the DRS. King Fenrir coming in with the subscription with Prime. Absolute legend, King Fenrir. Thank you very much for the subscription, my friend. I hope you're enjoying the action. My commiserations that your race didn't unfold, let's say, as you'd hoped. Was that contact there, I believe, between Best Noah and Mikey? It definitely sounded like there was some sort of contact. It looks like Robotic Shark now has been dispatched. So now it is crunch time between Daryl, Mikey and Best Noah, who are all now diving into the pit lane for the intermediate tyres. So Daryl is now the net race leader. Zasapi continues on and will take the lead. Sidemen comes into the pits. Wise Wizard is staying out. Andy Price is coming into the pit lane. Ferrari for Life is staying out. So it's very split between staying out and coming in, but the top three did so. And this battle now is completely level pegging. Daryl, who started 8th and said P8 to P1 incoming, is now net P1. F1 Mikey Boy started on pole, now net P2. Best Noah is now net P3. What an incredible turn of events. And Daryl's race, you have to say, has really been saved by the lapped car of Robotic Shark. DRS, however, is still enabled. So is there an opportunity for F1 Mikey Boy? Daryl's got almost 3 times the battery that Mikey has, so it doesn't look like there's an opportunity for Mikey to try and get past. There's an opportunity to gain, but it doesn't look like there's an opportunity to get through. We've still got 30 laps of this Grand Prix to go, ladies and gentlemen, and Mikey is getting closer. Daryl goes defensive. Mikey has to back out of the move that he was going to go for. And this battle is absolutely astonishing. I'm already losing my voice, and we're not even at half race distance. Zasapi now finally does come into the pit lane, as does Wise Wizard. So Daryl will retake the lead. F1 Mikey Boy will take second, and Best Noah will take third. Ferrari for Life also comes into the pits. Matt Connor comes into the pits. Alex now comes into the pits. You'd imagine Robotic Shark will come into the pits next lap. Liggs still stays out on the hard compound tyres, which is definitely an interesting choice. But Daryl, what a masterclass of a strategy this has been. No way for Mikey to get past down the main straight. Best Noah still sat in third, right on the back of F1 Mikey Boy. You just don't know where to keep your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. The rain is coming down even harder as the laps go on. This is astonishing stuff here in the Texan Grand Prix. WRC is now disabled as well, which is absolutely huge because that is only going to nullify the progress of Mikey and Best Noah. And Daryl already now 1.3 seconds out in front. Absolutely incredible stuff as now Mikey picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that's only going to harm his progress even more. Liggs now does finally come into the pit lane. Robotic Shark has still stayed out somehow. Very interesting choice from the Williams driver, as Daryl now does go through on him once again. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing here, ladies and gentlemen. Daryl's pace just looks absolutely unmatchable at the minute. The man that won last week out in Australia, now just looking to solidify that dominance. And once again, where Ferrari for Life has struggled and is currently running in 7th place, Daryl is quite quickly becoming a strategy maestro. .7 seconds. The gap now out in front, ladies and gentlemen. F1 Mikey Boy doing his best to charge on, but Daryl just looks in a different league here today. Best Noah still keeping tabs with Mikey, keeping him under pressure. But overtaking in the wet conditions is so hard, especially in the dirty air of this year's games. Asapi runs in 4th place, albeit a lap less on those intermediate tyres, which could come in quite favourable. Which you may not expect, but any less tyre wear is most certainly an advantage. Sidemen runs in 5th with Wise Wizard in 6th place. Ferrari for Life in 7th. A good recovery, to be fair, after being 17th at the end of, realistically, turn 2 of the first lap. Andy Price runs in 8th with Matt Connor in 9th. Liggs runs 10th with Alex in 11th. MCL 12th with Ollie in 13th. Jasega 14th. Romeo Blues in 15th. And Robotic Shark in 16th. With King Fenrir being our only retiree so far of this Grand Prix. Lap 30 of 56. 26 laps remain. And Daryl just looks like a man untouched in this Grand Prix here today. Zasapi, however, is gaining on Mikey and Best Noah. So could we see a little bit of a battle unfold as the McLaren starts to settle into this race? Stick on board, and I'm sure we will see very soon. See the pace of the McLaren looks absolutely blistering. As they make their way through the first sector and the middle sector, Zasapi looks like he's got all the pace he needs to try and make a move. Ferrari for Life and Wise Wizard, massive contact there, and Wise Wizard, a big moment, thumped round by the Ferrari. Ferrari for Life does manage to get through, but again, more damage for Ferrari for Life. After contact with Wise Wizard, there's definitely no love lost between these two, it has to be said. Lap 31 of 56, ladies and gentlemen, and Zasapi is really starting to get up to the back of Best Noah now, and when it looked for a moment like Best Noah was putting the pressure on F1 Mikey Boy, it's now Best Noah under pressure from Zasapi, and Best Noah is actually losing time to F1 Mikey Boy now, so maybe just driving a little too much in the rear view mirror is Best Noah. Just got to keep pace with Mikey. He's getting close in these conditions with the dirty air is hard enough, let alone overtaking. It's definitely not easy. But here goes the Zasapi then, as we make our way into the braking zone. Doesn't look like there was any last of the late breakers, but Zasapi just manages to get his car ahead. Best Noah will try and fight round the outside. Now looks for the switchback onto the optimal line. This battle's not over yet as they bash wheels going into the next corner. And Zasapi does move through into third place. Noah gets a good exit, but Zasapi gets a better one and moves up into the podium places. Now the question is, can Zasapi try and gain up to the back of Mikey? It definitely looks like he's got the pace to. Can Noah try and fight back and get that position back again? Zasapi, though, marching on to try and make this a McLaren 1-2, and what a result that'd be for the Woking outfit, who dominated Formula 1 in 2025. Zasapi looking to bring that back, and Ferrari for Life comes into the pits and retires from the session. And that is big in terms of the World Championship. Yes, this is only round 2, ladies and gentlemen, but Ferrari for Life has looked like he's had the pace to take that championship and will score no points in the first 2 rounds. Zasapi then really is gaining up to the back of F1 Mikey Boy. And I must say, I'm still surprised we've not had a safety car here tonight. Sappy just thought about a move down into the braking zone, but then thought against it. But it does most certainly look like he's got the pace to try and get through on Mikey. Sappy driving like a man possessed, just like his teammate. Is there an opportunity down into turn 1 for Zasapi? It's hard to make a move into turn 1 with the uphill braking. Doesn't look like there was a move on, but you cannot deny the pace of the McLaren driver, although the rain is absolutely storming it down. Is there maybe a chance we see the full wet tyres? This is absolutely crazy how much rain is being dispersed onto the track. Ferrari for life. Welcome to the stream, my friend. I've seen a few pieces of the contact. I'm not going to play the plane game. That's not my job. But I did see a few pieces of the contact. It definitely looked like you and Wise Wizard don't have any love lost, it must be said. But definitely an unfortunate result for yourself. And hopefully you can come back stronger. I was rapid the whole race, just got unlucky. If you don't mind me asking, what actually happened lap 1? Because I didn't catch it. I assume there was contact with someone else. But was it contact? Was it, you know, you had a moment yourself? You know, are you able to kind of talk us through that moment? Because I must say I was quite surprised when I saw a car tumbling down the order and it was you. Contact with Andy. Oh, okay. I mean, you know, it's lap 1, do you know what I mean? It's especially through the S's, it's very easy for contact to be made in the S's. Lap 1, everyone's stuck together. It's almost inevitable that someone's going to go around at that part of the track. Zasapi still gaining up to the back of Mikey, but this just proves overtaking really is not easy in these conditions. He managed to get past Noah, let's say, with relative ease, but Mikey just looks like that bit more of a stark challenger for the McLaren, although Zasapi looks like he has the pace in the corners. But then when it gets to the straight lines, Mikey's just got enough to stay ahead. Then Robotic sent a holy dive bomb into turn 1 and smashed my wing. I'm off though now. Good race everyone and good luck. Ferrari for life. Thank you, my friend. Hopefully you're not too disheartened. Keep your head high. You've got pace in abundance, my friend, and I'm sure that won't be your only opportunity to race at the top. Zasapi, however, is looking to race at the top currently with F1 Mikey Boy. Throws it down the inside. And the McLaren 1-2, is it on? Mikey gets the switchback, gets the better exit. On board with Zasapi. Mikey looks to hang it round the outside. Surely no grip on the outside. Now switches, tries to take the inside line. Zasapi places that car exactly where it needs to be. It's a McLaren 1-2 here in Texas. Darrell leads Zasapi. And finally, after lap after lap after lap of trying to get through, he finally gets Mikey's number and Zasapi moves through into second place. Mikey now down to third. Best Noah right on the back of that fight as well. And they are all giving it absolutely everything in these horrendous conditions. And I must say, I am still quite surprised we haven't had a safety car yet. So props to all the drivers for keeping it on track, because it would definitely be quite easy to throw this off into the wall. You can just see, though, Mikey Boy struggling in the dirty air. And already a second and a half behind. Now, the question is, does Zasapi have the pace to try and gain up to the back of his teammate? That is definitely going to be the interesting question. Because we could potentially have a battle for the lead on our hands if Zasapi has the pace and he's looked like the quickest driver on track. Daryl may be getting a little bit comfortable in the lead of this one. You never know. There could be an opportunity for Zasapi to try and nick one here. There's still plenty of time left in this race. The gap does seem stagnant between the pair of them. Around 7 seconds-ish is the gap that Daryl has built. And Zasapi just looks to be happy keeping that gap the same and just gaining away from Mikey so often as much as possible. Best Noah still keeping tabs with the V-Card man, and obviously Mikey Boy with a 3-second penalty to come at the end of the race. Still 20 laps to go of this race, ladies and gentlemen, so anything can happen. But if it were to finish now, Best Noah would be taking that final podium position. Liggs manages to get through on Alex down at turn 1 for 9th place. I can assure you, every point matters in a season like this. Only 8 races in this championship season, so even 1 point can definitely make a difference come the end of the season. Just Sega and MCL doing battle through turn 1 as well. MCL manages to get up into 12th place. The Williams just doesn't look like it's been his day today. MCL, definitely a massively quick driver on his day. Just luck hasn't gone his way at this Grand Prix. Few bits of contact, maybe not the correct strategy calls. And 12th position is where he finds himself. 4.9 seconds to the car ahead of Ollie. And then a further 21 to try and get up to the battle of Alex and Liggs. Matt Connor and Andy Price keeping each other in tabs as well. Matt Connor having a pretty under the radar race, but P8 definitely not a bad result. Looking to try and improve that to 7th. Andy Price has just seemed to struggle since the rain hit. Was running in the podium places, got overtaken, and the rain just making it a little bit more difficult for him, but still a great race from Andy Price, currently running in 7th and doing a good job holding off Matt Connor in the Red Bull. 7th place, definitely some valuable championship scoring points, that is for sure. Sidemen currently runs 5th. He's gaining up to the back of Noah, which you would imagine with the dirty air. So Sidemen maybe looking to try and make a last dart chance to get into the podium places. Has definitely got the time to do it. It's definitely got the laps to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if we potentially see another pit stop in this race. You'd imagine, what, they will have been going about 30 laps on the intermediate tyres if they stay on this set of tyres, which I wouldn't imagine is going to be very ideal. So I would not be surprised if we've got yet another pit stop phase to come, which, again, could shake this race up entirely. Lap 38 of 56 of this Texan Grand Prix. And it's Daryl that leads a McLaren 1-2 here at the circuit of the Americas. It's Giuseppe who runs in second place. F1 Mikey Boy stays in third. Sidemen runs fourth. And as Best Noah has been into the pits. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, I did miss that. Best Noah has come into the pit lane for a fresh set of tyres. I was wondering why Sidemen had suddenly jumped up to fourth. Best Noah taking the earliest opportunity to get on to a new set of inters, and I would imagine Mikey Boy would react to that, but stays out for at least another lap. And you wonder, maybe for Mikey, with that penalty, it could be worth the risk of just trying to stay out as long as he can. The strategies are very split, especially when it comes to a wet race. It's difficult to know how to run it in the quickest manner. Sidemen picks up, I believe, another 3-second time penalty. We'll quickly go to the penalty screen and you can see it's F1 Mikey Boy, Matt Connor and Jasega on 3 seconds. We've then got Alex on 6 seconds. It's 9 seconds of penalties for Sidemen, Wise Wizard, Ollie and Romeo Blues. And then it's 12 seconds for Robotic Shark. We just had a brief yellow flag there. I believe that may have been for Robotic Shark. Out in front, we can still see Daryl just continuing to build that lead and doing a very good job of building that lead indeed. It must be said. Now I'm going to watch F1 Mikey Boy because surely you'd imagine he will be reacting to that pit stop of Noah really anytime soon. So it will be interesting to see if there is a pit stop for the VCARB driver. He is staying out though. So I do wonder if maybe that is his strategy, just to stay out as long as possible and hope that he can make the tyres last. Although still 16 laps of this race to go. Will have been on those tyres for 30 laps come the end of it if he doesn't pit. He's not even halfway through that stint yet. And you'd imagine those tyres are feeling a little bit worse for wear as this race continues on, especially considering he would have had to be pushing to try and stay ahead of Giuseppe and try and stay ahead of Noah. Gap between Noah and Sidemen currently 11.2 seconds, and you can only imagine that will be coming down at a rate of knots with the new intermediate tyres that Noah has bolted on. You can see the gap coming down, like I say, at a rate of knots. And surely Mikey's got to choose a time to come into the pit lane. There's still, what, 15 laps to go of this Grand Prix. You can see Mikey actually going on to the wetter line to try and cool those tyres down. And that is the thing with the inters. As the tyres degrade, the grooves in them that disperse the water slowly start to wear down. They eventually become a slick tyre, which is really hard to manage on a track as wet as the Circuit of the Americas currently is. just not dispersing the water. The tyres start to overheat because you're sliding around so much. So you will quite conventionally see drivers taking the wetter line to cool the tyres down. But that won't do anything for the tyre wear as such. You can see the dry line burned into the track. This sideman picks up yet another penalty. I believe that's 12 seconds now for sidemen. Ollie picks up another 3-second penalty as well. Gap out front, 10 seconds between Daryl and Zasapi, and that gap still continuing to grow between the two McLaren teammates. Zasapi's pace looked incredible, but Daryl just seems to have absolutely everything under control. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm having some issues with my microphone. F1 Mikey Boy is now making his way into the pit lane. Best Noah quite easily will go through on F1 Mikey Boy, but F1 Mikey Boy built that tyre offset, a 5-lap tyre offset, and that could prove crucial towards the end of this race. Still 13 laps to go as Ollie picks up another time penalty. F1 Mikey Boy emerges in 5th place. And this is definitely going to be a battle to watch to the end now, as F1 Mikey Boy just tries to get those tyres into the working window. He's got 6.7 seconds to try and gain up to the back of Noah. Noah has got 6.3 seconds to try and gain up to the back of Sidemen. And I do wonder if maybe we'll see those McLarens come into the pits at some point. Daryl continues on. Zasapi drifting around the penultimate corner also continues on. So we will keep an eye on the progress of Best Noah and F1 Mikey Boy, as they are the two drivers that have pitted. And definitely keep an eye on the McLarens to see if they think about coming in at some point. Best Noah really is gaining up to the back of Sidemen. Even Noah already taking the wetter line down into turn 1. Just trying to keep those tyres in the best of shape as possible. And F1 Mikey Boy is gaining on Noah. That 5-lap difference, that is a very big difference, especially on intermediate tyres. And I must say, this strategy call from Mikey does look quite smart at the current moment. It would have to be said. MCL and Alex are doing battle. That's getting very close through the first sector. Alex manages to win that battle out on the newer intermediate tyres and makes his way up into the final points paying position of 10th. And Alex again having quite an under the radar race, as there we can see a yellow flag. That's for Ollie, who's coming into the pit lane after only a lap on those intermediate tyres. So I wonder if that is to retire, and it is to retire, and Ollie becomes only the 3rd retiree of this Texan Grand Prix. You can see Robotic Shark struggling through the first sector to try and keep the car on track. And these conditions are only getting worse and worse as the rain comes down even more. It's been coming down for the best part of 20 laps now. As Andy Price now picks up a 3-second time penalty. And you can see the difficulty Mikey's having just getting the throttle down to keep the car straight. It is not easy to keep these cars on track. It is quite easy to say that. It's very easy to see that. Best Noah is starting to properly reel in Sidemen now. 7-lap-old tyres versus 19-lap-old tyres. And the difference is major between that pair, and it will surely only be a couple of laps now before Noah rocks up to the back of the Mercedes. The question is, will the grip be there to try and overtake once he gets to the back of him? It's definitely a tale of two different stories. Ten laps to go then of this Texan Grand Prix, and it's Daryl out in front. The tyre whisperer, the strategy god, whatever superlative you want to make for this man. He has just done everything absolutely perfectly. We've got a yellow flag right where Daryl is, but I can't see what that's for. That is Robotic Shark ahead of him. But it didn't look like Robotic Shark was off the track in any way. Although there you can see Robotic Shark off the track and into the runoff area. It's a bit too late on the brakes, and doing a full 180 round the car goes. Robotic Shark does get back onto the track. No damage to that car, will continue on. There's Noah now within 1.6 seconds of the Mercedes ahead of him. And this battle will now really start to commence. just see the conditions worsening and worsening as these drivers try and make their way through. You think the spray as well when you get close to the back of the car must be absolutely horrifying. But Best Noah now is within a second of Sidemen. Doesn't have much battery to use, but definitely has the tyre life advantage. Try and get through. Romeo Blues is actually pitting for the full wet tyres, which is interesting. It's been a long time since I've seen the full wet tyres on a Formula 1 car, and that is just testament to how bad the conditions are out here in Texas. But you can see the grip that Noah has got, but all the time he spends behind Sidemen in this first sector, Mikey is going to be gaining. So he needs to get this move done as quickly as possible. Is Noah, because all the time behind that Mercedes and the V-Carb will only be getting closer in that rear view mirror. But here is his first real opportunity then. Noah chases Sidemen as we make our way to the braking zone, but Sidemen with the ERS advantage and will be quicker in a straight line, stays ahead of the Alpine. And this is really harming Noah's race. It's really helping Mikey's race because you can see the gap coming down on the left-hand side of your screen. Is Noah maybe going to think about a dive bomb? He is going to think about a dive bomb. He understeers into the side of Sidemen. But now, on the exit, Sidemen does get a better exit because he's on the drier line. And Noah was at a bit of desperation creeping in for the Alpine driver as he now picks up a 3-second penalty. At the final corner, he's going for it and again slams into the side of the Mercedes. Does get the move done, but with more battery, back comes Sidemen up the hill and towards turn 1, and Sidemen back up into the podium places. Round the outside, Noah will try to hang it. Sidemen says, yeah, get off the track, son. After the moves that you've been making, I'll make a bit of a cheeky one myself. And Sidemen regains the position. And all this is doing is bringing Mikey closer and closer to this fight. And Sidemen is doing a mega job of defending. Noah aggressive in his attack. Noah just cannot seem to find a way through. And again, down the straight, Sidemen just has that extra battery that he needs to be quicker in a straight line. The gap now 2 seconds between Mikey and Noah. And the desperation, is creeping in for Noah at this stage of the race. It's not easy at all. The gap tumbling between himself and Mikey, and he will see that, and that will only pile the pressure on more as he needs to get past Sidemen as quick as possible. But look, 17%. He now does have the battery advantage technically, but only by about 3%. And Sidemen somehow getting a better exit as well just solidifies that he will stay ahead. This is incredible stuff to watch at the back end of what has been a brilliant Texan Grand Prix here in WRC. And if you aren't following, I have to pose the question, how? Noah once again trying to take different lines to gain, but now we look in the rearview mirror as they come over the hill and Mikey has arrived on the scene. And this now turns from a 2-car fight into a 3-car fight. Big deciding moments here in the latter stages of the Texan Grand Prix. And Mikey doesn't have much battery either. So Sidemen actually looks like the best placed car. We go to the penalties tab, and Sidemen will lose these positions anyway because of the penalties. So it's really between Noah and Mikey for who's going to take the final podium spot. The best way for Noah to try and defend is get past Sidemen and put a car in between himself and Mikey. But Mikey, on the fresher tyres, out of all three of them, will surely have the best opportunity. We begin lap 50 then of lap 56, and down the inside goes F1 Mikey boy. Noah tries to hang it around the outside, but there's just nothing he can do. He now looks for the switchback, gets the overtake enabled, but Mikey, with the better exit on the better tyres, goes through, and that is Mikey now into a net podium place. A big deciding moment here in the Texan Grand Prix. Wow, what a race this has been, ladies and gentlemen. And it is not over yet, because Mikey will want to take this position on track away from Sidemen. Sidemen doesn't have the battery advantage either. Mikey, with a much better exit it seems. Is this the opportunity that Mikey solidifies that final podium place? He's making his way now towards the braking zone. Is there an opportunity down the inside? He's going for it as he makes his way to the apex first. Sidemen will look to cut under, but Mikey boy moves through into third place and is now surely guaranteed that third position. Noah still struggling behind Sidemen, needs to get by as soon as possible if he is to try and nick away that third place from Mikey boy. But Mikey called the strategy absolutely perfectly. And that is a brilliant race, very well driven from Mikey. And really, from all of them. Brilliant stuff. Is there yet another twist in the tail, though? You never know in WRC. There could be another penalty picked up. There could be some sort of crash or big deciding moment that completely changes this race. But out in front, Daryl is just living comfortably. We'll look back at the tyres. 25 laps, ladies and gentlemen, on this set of intermediate tyres. It will be 30 once he crosses the line to take the checkered flag. Absolute insanity from this man at the front. The consistency that this man has, the tyre wear, the strategy calls. You couldn't ask for a more complete driver. And what a way to bounce back after struggling in qualifying, feeling like he could have taken pole position, making a mistake, running a little bit wide, that ultimately cost him that pole position. Cheekily coming in the chat and saying, oh, P8 to P1 incoming. And he's done exactly that. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And look at the gap he has out in front over his teammate. 13.3 seconds. You could not ask for a more perfect weekend if you tried. Absolutely astonishing stuff. Sidemen and Best Noah still doing battle as we make our way into turn one. The switchback tried for Noah. Sidemen somehow making those tyres last as well, even though he's going to lose the position because of his penalties. A great drive from Sidemen. Noah still trying to jostle away in the S's, somehow keeping it within the track limits and keeping it close enough to Sidemen to put him under pressure. But it just looks like he's going to have to give up that fight through the S's now. But what a fight this has been between two brilliant drivers. And Sidemen, how he's making these tyres last, I honestly do not have a clue. Astonishing stuff from the Mercedes driver, and being able to manage the ERS as well to keep himself with enough to just have that little advantage that he needs in a straight line to be able to keep himself ahead. I think that's been the key for Sidemen. And overall, just what a drive from really the two McLarens out in front. Both of them have been astonishing. Giuseppe was a bit underground at the beginning of this Grand Prix, but quite quickly got into the radar, and now running in second place, capping off the perfect weekend for McLaren, a 1-2 finish. You really could not ask for much more. 2 more laps to go though in this Texan Grand Prix, and what a Texan Grand Prix it has been. You couldn't have asked for a more entertaining race. And look at how much the rain is coming down now, ladies and gentlemen. It is absolutely pouring it down. It's almost reminiscent of a race at Silverstone. That's how hard this rain is falling. Darrell just making his way through the final sector to make his way onto the penultimate lap. And I'm honestly speechless when it comes to this man's race. What an event he has run. The comeback of all comebacks is going to pay off. And he predicted it. He said exactly what he was going to do, and he has done exactly that. The penultimate lap of this race, ladies and gentlemen, and it's Darrell that leads after an insane Texan Grand Prix. And look at the state of the rain as they make their way through the first sector. It almost looks undrivable, or at least the full wets. This is bonkers to even think that Formula One cars are still going round at 10,000, 11,000 RPM. but absolute testament to the drivers driving them. All 14 that are still running in the race. Absolutely props to all of you for keeping the car on track, really. Because it's definitely easier said than done, that is for sure. Daryl, though, I'm sure will be ecstatic with a win like this. He won in Australia last week, but this week he has dominated. And now, with just a lap and a bit to go, surely he will finally start to sense that the dreams are coming true. And now, with one lap to go of this Texan Grand Prix, he can finally start to let himself dream that this is it. This is going to happen. He is going to extend his championship lead. And what a deserving win. And I'm sure Daryl won't mind me sharing this. He came into the Discord server with some personal news before the race last week and managed to drive through all of that pain and all of that mental instability and came through to win. And that only seems to have invigorated him, as now, once again, he is driving at the absolute peak of his performances. And what a way to do it. What a story for the McLaren driver. Everything he's been through, racing-wise and personally, and still rising to the top of his game, still being the best that he can possibly be, and capping it off with dominant displays like this. You could not ask for anything more, and I could not be more happy for him as he makes his way into the final sector for the final time. Runs a little bit deep, maybe getting a little bit carried away with the celebrations. Just keep it on track, Daryl. That's all you've got to do, my friend. And as he makes his way through the final couple of corners, then 56 laps of chaos, and Daryl will stand on top. He extends his championship lead out in front. You can see him beaming under the helmet as he comes round the final corner. A burnout around the final corner to stamp it. Daryl wins the Texan Grand Prix after a textbook drive. Zasapi will cap off the perfect weekend for McLaren with a 1-2. F1 Mikey Boy will come home for third place after a hard-fought battle with nearly everyone in the top 10. Mikey Boy, that's definitely one to be proud of. It might not be the win that you might have hoped after the pole position, but a P3 is definitely not bad points. Best Noah will come home for fourth after a little bit of a controversial race, but eventually managed to get past Sidemen in the closing stages and will take home a well-deserved fourth. Sidemen will come home in fifth place on track, but I believe he will lose that due to a few penalties. Wise Wizard will be coming home sixth on track, but will take fifth because of the Mercedes penalties. So it is, no, Sidemen will finish fifth, and Wise Wizard will finish sixth then. Matt Connor comes around the final corner for Red Bull. A bit of an under-the-radar race for Matt Connor, but he crosses the line in 8th as Liggs takes 7th place. MCL comes home in 9th with Alex in 10th. Vandy Price will be 11th with Just Sager in 12th. Romeo Blues in 13th. Robotic Shark in 14th with Ollie, Ferrari for Life and King Fenrir being the only drivers that failed to reach the flag. What a race that was, ladies and gentlemen. And on top of it all, on top of the world, Daryl on the top step of the podium. Well, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been JP. It's been a pleasure to be here, as always. What an event we have just witnessed. And Daryl, what a win, my friend. If you are new, do drop a follow down below. We are live every Friday for these 100% races, and the championship battle is just getting started. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and from me to you,